Who really runs your company? It's not who you think. If you feel like your business is lacking direction long term because you are so caught up with all of the decision making, there's a missing piece inside of your business that you might not have. It's the board of directors. Having a board of directors is how the best companies stay on track for their short-term goals, mid-term goals, and also long-term goals. I'm talking decade to decade. We're not even thinking year to year when we speak with the board of directors. This is also known as the board of advisors, so I'll be using the same terminology. When you look at any company, you might be asking yourself, who is really steering the ship of that successful company? You might think that it's the CEO, but there's actually a team behind the scenes with the power to shape the future of that business, and that's the board of directors, also known as the board of advisors. The board is responsible for setting strategic guardrails to ensure that the company stays on course for their long-term goals. Today, we're in the final episode of our 5-part series where we break down the anatomy of a $1 million team. We covered the frontline staff, they're responsible for execution. We covered the mid-level staff, these are mid-level managers, they're responsible for the management. We covered the senior level management, they're responsible for the strategy. And then we covered the executives, and they're responsible for leadership. Now we're coming into the board of advisors, or a board of directors. We'll just call them the board from now on. So now we're covering the board, and they're responsible for leadership, strategy, experience, connections, wisdom, guidance, mentorship. These are people that are going to take your company to that absolute next level. In this episode, I'm going to cover the board's role, why they're essential for the company's growth, and the unique checks and balances that they bring to executive leadership. We'll also cover the pitfalls of working with the board and how to avoid them. A lot of you guys watching this, you might not have a board, or you might think that your business isn't yet ready for a board. And if you stay to the very end, I'm going to show you how to build a board of advisors on a budget, even if you don't have a budget. Stick with me. So let's define the role of the board. They are the governing body elected by shareholders. That's if you're a public company. If you're a private company, like most of you watching this are, they're hand-picked experts from industries and areas of expertise that you have defined to said, I need this on my team. You said, my company does this, and I'm looking for some experts in these areas so that when I run into a problem, I can just pull somebody aside and say, hey, what do I do here? Hey, what do I do here? Hey, marketing guy. Hey, finance guy. Hey, fundraising guy. Hey, legal guy. Hey, compliance guy. Hey, technology guy. Hey, partnerships guy. Hey, podcast guy. Hey, network guy. Whatever is in your board of advisors or directors, you want to be able to call on them at will and have them be obsessed with your success. Your board is not involved in your daily operations. However, they do play a crucial role in the company's strategic direction and also holding executives accountable. When it comes to the role of the board, I've broken it down into 4 key roles. Number 1 is big picture guidance. The board provides long-term strategic direction to ensure the company's growth, stability, and sustainability. Number 2, accountability. The board acts as a check to the executive level team. They ensure that all the decisions that executives are making align with the best interests of the company, the shareholders, and stakeholders. Number 3, high-level decision-making on major initiatives. The board is involved in high-level decisions such as mergers, acquisitions, or large investments. Number 4, crisis management. In times of a crisis, the board helps steer the company through complex challenges. Now let's talk about the key skills, qualities, and traits that I look for when building a board of director team. As a starting point, effective board members are strategic, impartial, and they're able to provide valuable insights based on experience, not theory. I look for 4 key skills, qualities, traits, whatever you want to call them. Number 1 is strategic vision. I need every one of my board members to see the long-term impact of their decisions and to also understand my company's position in the marketplace. If I'm a small business, I cannot make decisions like a large corporation. If I'm a medium-sized enterprise, I cannot make decisions like a startup or a small business. If I'm a large corporation, I cannot make decisions like a mid-sized enterprise. So I need somebody on my board who's going to be able to give me feedback, leadership, guidance, mentorship with a strategic vision. They should be able to see 25 chess moves ahead. Number 2, impartiality. Your board must make decisions objectively. They cannot use their subjective opinions. Objective means using data and fact. Subjective means, oh, my feeling, my heart-centered. None of that BS. And when they're impartial because they're prioritizing the best interests of the company, the shareholders, and the stakeholders. Number 3, and this is absolutely key, I'm looking for the 2 E's. Experience and expertise. Every board member must bring specific expertise and experience in order to guide decision making. The best board members say, hey, I ran into this problem at Microsoft. We ran into this problem at Uber. Here's what we did. Here's why we did it that way. Here's what happened. Here's where we messed up. You want to hire somebody who has expertise and experience to put onto your board of advisors. So how do you actually work with the board of advisors? How do you work with the board? How do they actually implement inside of your business? Well, to start, the board's role isn't just to set a vision. They're actually there to ensure that the executive team follows through in a way that aligns with the strategic goals and ethical standards of the organization. There's a couple of key responsibilities. Number 1 is evaluation of the executive level team's performance. A board regularly, typically quarterly, meets together to review the performance of your top level team. That's the CEO and any other executives inside of the organization. What kind of decisions did they make? How did those decisions go? Did they follow up on what they say they were going to do? And most importantly, what are the tangible results? What is the market data that they can objectively give feedback on? Number 2, financial insight. Boards typically review and approve financial reports to ensure transparency and accuracy. This actually safeguards the health of the company. While you have checks and balances internal with your frontline staff, mid-level, senior, and executive team, having that extra layer by a board really puts that crossing of the T's, dotting of the I's. If you're a professional entrepreneur, if you want to have a scalable, sustainable, long-term business that you could eventually sell one day, having your board review your financials is going to be a key game changer for you. Up next is risk management. Your board is responsible for assessing the company's risk exposure, and they set policies to manage it effectively. This provides a safety net for strategic decisions. A lot of times people in the board, they've been around in the game so long that they've seen other people fail. And because they've seen other people fail, they know what doesn't work. They've seen their competitors go from number 1 to number 7, number 12, and then eventually bought out or just die and fall off the face of the earth. You want to leverage their expertise and their experience and ask them to help you minimize your risk as a business. Business is risky enough. Minimize what you can minimize. Control your risks. And finally, stakeholder communication. If you're a public company or if you're a private company with a bunch of investors, you're going to have some stakeholders. Your board has to report and communicate to these stakeholders because the board actually represents the interests of the shareholders and the stakeholders. And these reports, they're fairly top level. It talks about the company's status, what's going on, and any of the strategic decisions or initiatives they have in the pipeline. Here's how the board of directors supports the executive team. The board provides guidance and support to the CEO, and they help them by navigating all of the complex decisions that they have to make on a day-to-day basis without micromanaging their actions, of course. So here's the 3 key ways that the board supports the executive team. Number 1, strategic guidance. The board provides valuable insights and advice on strategic initiatives. They act as mentors rather than micromanagers. So if you're on the executive team and you're running through a problem, just call up the board. The board's been there. They've already done that. Give them the problem and they'll give you multiple ways to approach that. Sometimes in a small business, executives, they feel like they're on an island and they cannot share their problems with anybody. That's false. Having a strong board allows your executives to not only feel empowered and supported, but also allows them to be mentored by giants in the industry. Number 2, resource allocation. Your board, if they have enough experience and expertise, they're gonna be connected. And through those connections, they can help you secure talent, funding, maybe acquisitions, mergers, or get some deals done that might not even be available on the marketplace. Number 3, encouraging innovation. The board can encourage and empower your executive level team to innovate, to try new things, while putting up those strategic guardrails and saying, hey, try some new things out, but you can't go here and you can't go here. Anything in between, you can do it. You can work with that. So now let's talk about the pitfalls of working with a board. Number one, micromanagement of the executives. Sometimes board members will overstep their boundaries and their roles, and they'll get involved into daily operations. This actually undermines the executive leadership and can actually create confusion about the roles. Here's how to avoid that. Communicate exactly and specifically with your board that they must remain at a high level of oversight and to trust the executives to handle the day-to-day operations. Number two, lack of diversity and fresh perspectives. If your board has a lot of people with the exact same background, they might all have groupthink and they might just think, oh, well, that's how it's always been done, so we're just gonna keep doing it that way. And they'll provide you the same solutions over and over and over and over and over again. This could lead to missed opportunities, or even worse, you dealing with the same problems. So when you pick your board, find people with complementary, not overlapping levels of expertise. Number three, overlooking conflicts of interest. Some of your board members might have personal interests that actually conflict with the company's goals. This could lead them to have biased decisions that could actually harm the organization. So imagine if you were owning a bunch of taxis in New York City and then Uber comes in and you're on the board of advisors for Uber. Well, you don't really want Uber to be successful because it might take away from your taxi business in New York City. So here's how to avoid that. Before you ever sign somebody on to be on your board, have clear policies that they sign and they initial and that you go through with them so that they can disclose and address potential conflicts of interest. This will allow everybody to be totally impartial. Number four, focusing only on short-term results. Some board members might push really hard on specific initiatives that are great for the short term, but actually horrible for the midterm and the long term of a company, just to make the stakeholders happy. What this does is it compromises the long-term sustainability and the strategy, and of course the success of the company. So here's how to avoid that. Before making any decisions, have them tell you, how does this look for us in the short term, midterm, and long term? And then have your board argue, debate, discuss that 2 to 3 times over, because once you have that exercise in place, now you, as a founder, will have more information and data points to say, okay, I got these experts, they're on my board, they hash through the short term, midterm, and long term. We've covered our bases. This should work out. It's not 100%, of course, but it should work out. And finally, number 5, ineffective communication with executives. A lack of clear communication between the board and executives, that can actually lead to misunderstandings and misalignment on strategies. So if you have somebody who is on your executive team who receives a message from one of your board members, and maybe you don't check for understanding as a founder and make sure everybody's on the same page, well, they might be think to do X when we actually need to do Y, and by the time they execute X, the guy on the board is like, why did this go so far off? Like, what actually happened? What happened here? So here's how you can avoid that. Your executives and your board should have regular, structured communication channels, and have you as a founder set expectations for sharing information. One thing that's very common in the boards that I'm on and the boards that I have is we have a Slack channel. It could be an email thread for some people. It could be a text message thread. It could be an in-person meeting for some people. But once a week, we require everybody to put 10 minutes. That's it, just 10 minutes. So that requires everybody to leave simple, concise messages with just the top level stuff. And to say, hey, I went ahead and I did this. This is what happened, and this is the problems that I had. This is the success that I have. That's what the executive would say. Then the board member would say, that's awesome. Have you thought about this? Be careful about that. And that's really good that we did this. So in all of the boards that I'm on, we implement a 10-minute commitment on some type of communication, whether it's email, text message, sometimes in person. That's very rare. Depends on the actual business. But I use a Slack channel. That's what I use. We have a Slack channel, executive, board of directors. We say, hey, working on this, boom, and they just comment as threads, and it's 10 minutes on everyone's part. Now, if something's wrong, then of course we would set up a phone call, a meeting. That doesn't happen a lot, but it happens once a month. If something's wrong or we have some problems, that's the level of expectations that you have to communicate to your board member. It's not just, hey, I'll see you once every 3 months. That's not the case, especially if you're in a fast-moving, fast-growing company. So now let's recap what we talked about. The board of directors plays a critical role by setting the strategic direction, providing oversight, and holding executives accountable. Effective board members will offer support and mentorship without micromanaging their executive level team. An effective board member will focus on the long-term goals and risk minimization by making sure that you have a diverse group of experts in your board, establishing clear and agreed upon communication channels, and always maintaining ethical integrity. Your board can drive your company towards sustainable long-term success. I got some action steps for you. So pull out a notepad, get a sticky note, take some actions. If you watch my channel and you take action, you're gonna make a lot of impact on your business. So pull it out right now. I'll give you like 3 seconds. Pull out your phone, pause this video, go pull out, these are like 4 things only. I'm only gonna ask you to do 4 things. Number 1 is to evaluate your board composition. What does your board look like now? I want you to consider the diversity, the expertise, and the strategic value that each of these members bring. If you don't have a board, write down what are those dream things for you. What is the dream diversity? What is the dream expertise? What is the dream strategic value that your board members would bring to your organization? Number 2, set clear boundaries and expectations. If you have a board, make sure that your board is not dropping down to any of the daily operations or even executive level leadership. Make sure that they maintain their oversight without stepping over anybody's toes and undermining anybody's leadership or authority. If you don't have a board, ask yourself, what does the board of directors roles look like? How would they operate? Where do I want them to support us, and where do I want somebody else to support us? You have to draw that line. There has to be that boundary. You cannot ask somebody to be on your board and then run your company. They're not gonna do it. I would quit, I would resign. I'd say, here you go, I'll take whatever penalty, I'm out. See you later, non-complete, sure, whatever, non-disclosure, whatever, I'm out, I'm not running your business. I'm here as an advisor. I'm here as an expert. I'm here as someone to provide experience. I'm not here to run your company, man. See you later. What a rookie. I'll never do business with that guy. Or maybe when that guy or gal grows up professionally from an entrepreneur and from a founder aspect, maybe I'll go work with them. Maybe. Number 3, foster open communication. If you have a board, I want you to go to your board members and I want you just to reevaluate your communication cadence. How often are you guys meeting? What does that look like? Are those meetings effective? Do you guys use agendas? Do you have a timer? How does your meetings actually operate at the board level? How do your board members manage and oversee your executive level leaders? How do they hold them accountable? What is that communication process? Look at these 2 people. You have your board, you have your executives. How do they communicate? How does that process work? Could it be more effective? Could you simplify it? Maybe it needs to be a little bit more thorough in some cases. You never know. If you don't have a board, I want you to imagine how would that process look like inside of your organization. Let's say we waved the magic wand, poof, your board showed up. How often would they talk to your executive team? What would that look like? Would it be through smoke signals, Morse code, email, Slack, WhatsApp, text message, iMessage, in-person, video chat, VR, AR? How would that look like? How often? What would they talk about? What's the structure? What does the agenda look like? And number 4, long-term strategy. If you have a board member or a board right now, go to your board and ask every one of them, hey, what's our long-term strategy? Anytime they give you some advice, say, you know, that's a good idea. How does that affect our long-term strategy? If you don't have a board, I want you to come up with 20 questions that you can ask a board member that will always keep their answers or guidance or mentorship focused on your long-term objective and strategy. Remember, you want to balance immediate results with your company's long-term vision for success, growth, and sustainability. It has to be sustainable. They cannot sacrifice long-term, mid-term goals for short-term gain. I'm saying this a lot because this happens a lot, because board members, they still want to get paid, they still want equity of the company, but they don't want you worrying about it. And they want to give you quick wins, but sometimes those quick wins could come at the cost of the long-term success of your business. Now I've got powerful questions for you, my fellow founders. By the way, I'm a business consultant and I ask these kinds of questions to my clients. These are a little bit more generic. Of course, they're specified to the board, but when my clients work with me, these are the kinds of conversations that we have. So if you're interested in getting some consulting from me, reach out to me, tell me about your business, and if it makes sense, I'll help you out. So ask yourself this when it comes to your board. What role does your board play for shaping the long-term success of your business? How often do you challenge your board's perspectives to ensure a diverse range of insight? Are your board members truly aligned with the values of your business, or are they simply there picking up a check, fulfilling a role? What checks and balances does your board have in place to hold you and your executive team accountable so that you can have success in your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals? Ooh, be honest with that one. That one even stung me a little bit. How well does your board understand the day-to-day realities of your business? And how could that understanding be improved? How do you ensure that your board is focused on long-term success, not just short-term gains? What processes do you already have in place right now to encourage an open dialogue and constructive feedback between your board and executive team? How effectively does your board respond to crisis? I don't know how to say that. And what could you change to improve their role in times of insecurity? What is one strategic risk that your board has encouraged you to take, and what impact did it have on your company? How transparent are you with the challenges that your business is facing with your board? And how does that transparency impact their guidance? In what ways could your board provide more valuable support without overstepping into day-to-day operations? What are the most critical qualities that you value in each of your board members, and how do those qualities enhance your business? How do you measure the effectiveness of your board's contributions to your company's growth? And the final one, what are you doing today to prepare your board and your business for the next phase of growth? All right, I promise you, if you stayed until the end of the video, I hope you stayed here long enough and you found some value and some insights into this. I'm gonna show how I have personally built a board of directors and advisors on a budget. Number one, if you're just starting out, the best way to do that is to have coaches and consultants around you as a founder. If you got a small business, a startup, you're the business, you're the guy, you're the gal, so put your own board of advisors around you. I like to have 7 coaches and consultants that I'm working with at all times, just to make sure that I'm having growth and that people are holding me accountable. So, and that could be in your health, your personal life, it could be in your business, specific things about your business, whatever that looks like. Have 7 people around you at all times and check in with them. You know, if you have 7 people, you meet with them every other week, once a month, whatever that looks like. That's going to give you structure to be accountable to yourself and to them. And of course, you're going to have insights. Tell me that if you worked with 7 people long term and they were guiding you, mentoring you, leading you, would your life be better or would it be worse? Would you be worse or would you be better? If you're working with the right people, you're probably going to be evolving into something much more valuable to yourself, your family, your friends, your marketplace, your business, your industry, your generational wealth, whatever you're trying to build. Having 7 people around you saying, hey, do this, hey, do this, hey, you're here, I need you here. Having 7 people in different aspects of your life pushing you, you're gonna have to raise up. It's impossible not to. Number 2, you could hire somebody part-time. You could say, hey, you know what? I'm building a board of advisors and I like you. I wanna put you on my team and let's meet every quarter. Maybe you start there. You have a consulting call with them or you meet with your entire board once a quarter. You pay them however you look like. I got some opportunities for you here, some suggestions here, but start with that. Say, okay, we're gonna have 4 board meetings a year and I wanna have 1 email a month. So that's a good starting point. Number 3, you could actually hire them hourly. You could find people and say, hey, I'm looking for support on this, and what's your hourly rate? If I wanted your advice on this, what is your hourly rate? You call me up, you say, hey Frank, I'm looking to build an offshore staff and I need your expertise. I know you've been doing it for 16 years. I'm building a startup, I'm franchising my business, I'm doing international business. How much does your hourly rate cost? What would that cost? How much is it gonna take? Awesome, I tell you my hourly rate, you pay it, you ask me direct questions, you ideally email them to me beforehand, say, hey Frank, these are the problems that I have, what you thinking? I would probably answer your questions in, 20, 30 minutes, and it would be like in depth. I would go in depth on that because I knew exactly what you wanted from me. And if you did that with whoever you needed in your board, you might not need a board right now, but though that expertise could be a supplement, it could be a replacement or an interim replacement for the knowledge that you need, the expertise that you need. Number 4, you could just give them equity. You could say, hey, I got no money for you, but I'll give you a piece of the company. That's gonna get you some of the best board members because now they're actually got some skin in the game. They own a part of the company. Wow. And number 5, just ask your mentors. If you're any of my mentees and you watch it down to here and you consider yourself a mentee of mine, if you consider me a mentor of you, just ask me. If we believe in you, we'll be on your board, whatever that looks like to get started. I've had people join my board just because they believe in me. I've had coaches and consultants say, and when I was building my first board, I was like, man, board of advisors, board of directors, these guys are expensive. I didn't know they were going to cost that much, or I wasn't prepared for this. I need help here. Can I give you an interim board seat? I just asked them, hey, I need your help, and it's going to look like this. It's very minimal engagement. I need some support. I want to start having something in place here. I don't want to be where I'm at, and I know that having a board is going to allow my business to get to the next level. Can you help me out? Just ask. If you ask somebody and you're not a bad person, they're gonna help you out in whatever way they can. If they can't do it, they might be able to recommend somebody who actually can. Or they might do it for a set amount of time. They might do it for a year, for 6 months. They might agree to 12 meetings or something like that, whatever that looks like. Now, if they do that, then they need to see momentum in action. I had one of my mentees say, yeah, I'm gonna build a board. I go to the first board meeting and I'm the only guy there. I'm like, dude, it's not a board. I left. I said, don't pull that shit on me again. The second time that we met a meeting, there was a couple other people. I was like, okay, I'm liking the direction that it's headed. Then the third meeting, then we had more. Then the fourth meeting, then we had more. The fifth one, he was like, okay, things are going good. Let me cut you a check. Then we started getting equity a couple of meetings later because we were pushing forward on that. You got to start somewhere. So if you don't have any resources, you're not resourceful enough. But if you really don't have resources, just ask your mentors, people that are already in industries, cold email them. If you want somebody to be your mentor, hit them up and say, hey, I would like some mentorship. I would like some guidance, man. I would like you to help me change my life. Could you do that for me? Because we all had somebody that has helped us in some way, shape, or form. You always want to pay it back. So that's the video. The board of directors is the final layer of your winning team structure. Remember, this was a series of a 5-part series. If you haven't watched the series, make sure you watch it. If you have watched the series and you watch every episode, let me know in the comments to make sure I didn't waste my time recording this. It makes me feel good when someone says, I watched the whole series. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I appreciate that. Also, if you have any ideas of any other series you'd like to see from me, let me know too. So if you like this kind of videos, if you like these kinds of series, I have a bunch of content on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. Go check out my other series. And if you haven't watched this series, go watch it. If you watched it this far and you're serious about your growth, go watch this series like maybe 3 to 5 times to really cement these concepts in your brain, and then revisit it once a year, because repetition is going to allow you to see things. So if you watch this video right now, you probably had a bunch of insights. If you watch this series, you had a lot more insights. Now, if you watch this series a year from now, the problems that you're facing now will be different, hopefully, if you're progressing a year from now. So what I'm breaking down to, you might have a new aha moment. You might have a new perspective about these particular things. If you watch it 2 years from now, you're now 2 years ahead of where you were when you first watched this. So coming back to videos like this, it's always good foundational knowledge. LeBron James, he's amazing. He's one of the best basketball players ever. What does he do before a game? He shoots free throws. He dribbles. He lays up. He does the fundamentals. You as an entrepreneur, you got to be committed to your craft. So if you're watching this for your second, third, fourth, fifth, your yearly view, let me know too, because that's really awesome. I love action takers like that. My name is Frank Salas. I'm internationally known as the talented Mr. Salas. I make these videos because when I was coming up as a 20-year-old entrepreneur, when there was no YouTube, or at least this kind of content on YouTube, I would get on my hands and knees and I would beg to God and say, please, please, please send me a mentor. I don't know what I'm doing. This is expensive. I keep failing. And no one ever came. So I want to help you avoid all that by making these kinds of videos. As of this recording, I now have 17 years of experience in the entrepreneurship game. Crazy to say. If you found video, let me know, man. Hasta luego. I'm out.